future, one where you get to spend time with your loved ones and the ones that are precious to you, and you never have to rely, so to speak, on anyone else to be taken care of. Whether it be the government, or whether it be an employer, or anyone else for that matter, there's nothing like having the freedom to do what you want, when you want, how you want, because when you're generating income, investing and scaling without having to trade away your time and your energy, then life just gets a lot different. You can actually start to think, you can start to plan, you can start to prosper. None of us were meant as human beings to sit and slave away 9 to 5 behind a desk. We weren't meant to do that. I feel very, very blessed. It's an honor, and I know it's glory 100% to God, but to do what we're doing right now without having to slave away behind a desk, without having to cut out lattes, without having to be like stuck in the current system, this was a gift from God, and I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna show you all of my insider secrets for it, okay? Don't wait on this though. I capped the number of people because I'm only looking for action takers.
Yeah, I'm John Robinson, and my company name is John Buys Houses, johnbuyshouses.com.
I bought some houses, I bought some duplexes, I bought a fourplex. So I bought various things so that if markets ever turned in one particular area, I was okay. So I diversified pretty well. I don't put an hour a month into it. It's really, I look at it at the month end, that's it. Really once in a while I call up and say, hey, everything going okay? And they said, yeah, fine, and that's about it. It's really peace of mind. I could do what I want when I want. I go to the cabin for a week. So I have freedom, and that's the thing. If I was retired and just in the stock market, it always has peaks and valleys. And if it took a dip, I'd be like, oh my God. And now I don't care, because whether the house value goes up or goes down a little, it's rented. So I know the money's gonna be there. One of the things I like about Home Invest is they're really there from start to finish. Here's a property, you suggest you buy it, they fix it, they get a tenant, they rent it, you don't have to do anything, and I'm happy doing nothing. And just from my personal experience for 10 years, these guys have been A+, and I could not have done it without them.
So you invested in some turnkey rentals with us. How did those go for you? Like, first off, tell us, like, why did you invest?
So I work on Wall Street, and I've always wanted to put my excess cash at work. You know, I was always attracted to real estate. It's just something that I thought would suit me a little better. And also I thought it wouldn't take as much time. And it was Super Bowl in 2017. Nate and I were exchanging a few messages, and he sold me a home. Today I own about 25 properties. I was running the numbers this morning because I knew I was gonna be on this call today. My total return, realized and unrealized on that investment from my down payment is approximately 450%. So essentially the property doubled since the time Nate sold me the property.
What's been holding you back in your real estate career?
Trying to balance the focus between my 9 to 5 and moving into this, which is what I really want to move to, is a replacement for my income.
Awesome. And what did you come here looking for into this?
Systematize. A way to systematize this process step by step, because I'm kind of an engineering type. So it's like, A, do this, B, do that, C, do that. And if I learn, once I'm told how to do that, I can adopt it and go forward. So I'm looking for that systematizing.
What, if anything, have you tried before?
None. I've been in the real estate world for a whopping 3 weeks. So,
Okay.
and I think, but I do feel lucky, having seen all these other people, that I feel lucky that I landed on this one without having to go through all the other learnings that everybody else has had. That's nothing compared to this. So I feel great about that.
Awesome. Thank you. What is the one thing that you've learned so far that would be your biggest takeaway from this event?
That I should probably, so we just recently, I was talking with Steve Martin, and he said, what would you take away to replace with something here? And it came to me right away. I should stop spending time 2 or 3 hours watching TV and news and stuff like that. That would be very helpful for me.
Awesome. So if someone were thinking about coming to one of these events, what would you tell them?
Run, don't walk. Come on, it's worth many, many times what you're going to pay for it. It's an investment.
All right, Matt. Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you.
What was the one thing that stuck out about working with Nate and the team and Home Invest? What was just one thing that like made it really easy to deal with them, or one thing that you would say about Home Invest in general?
They really understand what things look like on our end. I think Nate has a long history of investing in real estate, and they understand what matters they understood what mattered to me when I was first buying, and really helped me throughout the entire process. So I can't, like I'm at a point financially, I'm really doing quite well, and I think Nate has a big part to do with it. He was really instrumental when I first started investing in real estate, and can't thank him enough. Honestly, incredible person, great business. I strongly recommend it.
Trying to figure out how to better manage my time and working towards putting a team together, because I know with where I'd like to go, we want to build this up within our family.
Awesome. What have you tried before?
Been doing buying houses and rehabbing, not to flip, but buy and hold. So I'd buy things and fix them up and hold on to them long-term as rentals.
What's the biggest takeaway you've gotten this meeting so far?
Getting some knowledge about how, really, I think some time blocking and getting some accountability. Some people I need we need to keep each other in check in on each other, and make sure we're staying on our targets instead of trying to do it all alone.
Awesome. If someone was thinking of coming to one of these events, what would you tell them?
If you're serious about it and you're really wanting to get into real estate at a level worth doing, by all means, the knowledge is power. And this is such a group of people that there's so much knowledge, and not just the knowledge, but genuine people who want to see you do well. Yeah, that's priceless. You can't put a price on that.
All right, that's awesome. Thanks, Joe.
You've seen what other people have had to say. Now it's time for you to put this stuff in action for you and for your family. We'll see you at the next event. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Opportunity Zone. Oh, I see some good-looking people here. If you're following us on Zoom, means you're backstage with us. Welcome. I see Sue smile. I think Doug even smiled in the bite of his food right there. Yeah, cool. We've got Chris on. We've got CJ on. We've got Lori on. If you're following us online on social media, that's cool too. You'll still want to play along with us. When I call out some things to type in the chat or the comments, know that we're watching comments on social media at the same time. But welcome to the show. So the Opportunity Zone, we've got a lot to cover this week. There are things happening right now, and I want to hit a couple of highlights. Number one, there's a bit of a renter's dilemma. You see, Amy Klobuchar, Democrat, she's leading the charge right now to go after companies that are using algorithmic pricing. Algorithmic pricing, meaning rental rates that are set by a software. And there's a lot of backing behind it right now to go after some of the people that use the software and the folks that make the software. We'll talk about that today and how it could affect multifamily investments, hotels, and other rental investments. There's also some mixed signals coming through on multifamily developments. Do you think that it's going to stop developers from continuing to build, or will they keep going? The other thing that we're going to hit today is capital is moving. If you're on the hunt, or if you're wondering, is capital actually moving? Are there banks lending money for multifamily? We're going to cover the stats on that and how you might be able to get your hands on some of it. And then last but not least, we're going to go through and we're going to talk about some of the fraud that's occurring in rental applications. If you're a landlord or you're considering investing into someone else's deal, you definitely have to know this stuff. You have to know whether tenants are real or whether they're fake. Before we get into all of this, we're going to go through a quick little Bible lesson. Then I'm going to turn it over to my co-host to bless us all. So here's the Bible verse of the week. It's found in the book of Luke. Okay, Luke 16:10. Whoever can be trusted with a very little can be trusted with much. Now, this verse speaks to the importance of managing resources wisely. As we explore lending opportunities, banks giving out more money this year, because that's what the conclusion is going to be. We're going to show you in a little bit. It's just a reminder for us that we have to be faithful stewards of everything that we're given, recognizing our responsibility to do this and investing wisely. And there's no one that does this better than my co-host, who, Chris, as I introduce you, I just want to say thank you. I know you and I had a private talk on Sunday talking about banks, lending in general, and just know that that voice, that reasoning, your stories about how you've handled things in the past, it sat with me for the whole car ride home. And I want to publicly acknowledge and thank you for being such a good steward of everything that's God's blessed you with, and then sharing it with guys like me. Thank you.
Thank you. Very kind.
Chris, could I ask you to say a blessing over everybody that's here today?
Absolutely. Heavenly Father, first and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge who you are in my life. I'm committed to the fact that you're everything, and everything is a miracle. Please bless us and bless the people listening to this call so that we can instill some knowledge and allow them to have favor in their finances so that they can be good stewards of the blessings that you've given them. Please bless the conversations, bless this whole meeting. I ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. All right. So we've got a lot of news articles to go through today to help you guys make sense of what the market's opportunities are for you. Before I get into that, we have a lot of people asking, hey, do you have a deal? Is there something that we can look at potentially investing? This is the opportunity zone, and we want to make sure that we bring an opportunity. And what I'm going to do is share the one opportunity we have. I'm just going to be upfront. I'm sorry, we're sold out of multifamily. Like literally, we have a wait list right now. There's people lining up on a wait list for our next multifamily deal, but we're completely sold out there. The one opportunity we do have, I'm going to let Mr. Trump introduce it to you, because I think no one says it better than him.
To every business in the world is very simple. Come make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest taxes of any nation on earth. We're bringing them down very substantially, even from the original Trump tax cuts. But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff, differing amounts, but a tariff which will direct hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions of dollars into our treasury to strengthen our economy and pay down debt. Under the Trump administration, there will be no better place on earth to create jobs, build factories, or grow a company than right here in the good old USA. So
the message that he's putting, love the guy or hate the guy, the message he's putting out with his administration is that making stuff back here in the United States is going to be cheaper than making it abroad and trying to import it. That big, nasty T word, tariffs. You probably heard it all over the news. It's the talk of the town right now. And the reason that it's the talk of the town is because this administration has said, we're going to go after it. We're going to put reciprocal tariffs on every country that's trying to import goods into the United States. So what's happening domestically, why this matters for you, is that manufacturing in the United States is picking up steam like no other. We started making some manufacturing investments a couple of years ago now, and the facilities that we've invested into have blossomed, especially since Trump took office, or the election results came in last November. And now the orders keep coming in and keep coming in. If you have an interest in investing into that sector like us, this is the industrial real estate sector. I'm going to forward and put this in the chat for anybody that's on the Zoom call with us, and we'll publish it on social media as well. But there are 8 ways right now that the US government is boosting that business. Investing in industrial real estate that has particularly manufacturing on it right now can be a really good play. I've personally invested into this. A lot of our team members have personally invested into this. We have investors that are into this fund where we're buying manufacturing facilities in the Midwest right now, and we're going to do a private equity roll-up after we consolidate all of them. This right now, it's paying out in 2 different ways. You can either get fixed income from it by being a lender. You literally come in just like a bank would, and you get monthly payments every single month back to your bank account. This also has an option where you can be an equity partner. If you're interested in making somewhere between 8 and 10% on your money, plus backside profits when we sell the private equity, this could be a really good play for you. It's never the fund that we established. Now it's going on almost 2 years since we got into this business, but that fund has never missed a distribution payment, and it's got a lot of equity in it, a lot of collateral in it. So if you're interested in that, then what I'm going to have you do is click the link that's in the chat. If Sue or if Doug, if you guys could drop that link, I'd appreciate it. Oh, you're ahead of me. That'd be great. And if you're following us online, you're like, hey, Nate, where's the link? Then just put link, type the word link in the comments, and our team will private message it over to you. So that's our opportunity that we have for you. And then those of you that are waiting for the perfect multifamily, got to wait a little bit longer, but just know that we're hard at work on this. Our team screens almost 100 deals per month, sometimes more depending on the influx. And we are just being diligent. We are not going to let some deal slip through that's not a good moneymaker for all of us. So we continue to crunch the numbers on some, but we're getting close on a Florida opportunity that I think we'll be able to present soon. Okay, Mr. Chris, you ready to rock?
Let's do this, man.
Okay, I'm going to throw one curveball in before we get into the news. I want to talk about this. So the S&P 500, they haven't officially announced it yet. They will at the close of trading today, but it's hitting an all-time high, literally breaking the records. Chris, what do you think, man?
Okay, so let me do this. The S&P is breaking all-time records, but the reality is that's generally good for us as investors, because as stock markets rise, the bonds and all of the safe stuff declines. And anybody that's familiar with multifamily understands that when you get agency debt, which is large Fannie or Freddie Mac debt, it's based on the 10-year bond. So as the stock market goes up, the bond prices come down, brings our cost of capital down. But it's not happening. It's like the S&P's going up, the bond prices are going up. This is a crazy topsy-turvy world that is leading to a lot of unpredictability and instability, and making it so that people don't really want to commit one way or the other. It's just a very peculiar time. I wish I had a crystal ball and knew what was going to be the next Bitcoin, but unfortunately I don't.
Yeah, neither do I. And I wanted to bring it up because when we get to top of market cycles like this and new highs get approached like this, savvy investors usually diversify. They look
they jump out.
They jump out. And I'm not saying everybody's got to jump ship. I literally had a meeting with my financial planner last week, and he was telling me why now is the perfect time to go all in on the stock market. And I looked him square in the eye in the Zoom call. I'm like, John, really? I should go all in. He's like, well, maybe not you, because you're a real estate guy, but other people, this is going to be a run. And I'm like, but what happens if it corrects? He's like, Nate, you're right. It will. There will be a correction. I don't know when, but there will. And then he went through charts and graphs about time in the market versus trying to get in and out and timing the market. Anyways, right now we're at an all-time high. So it's just a good idea to start considering some alternatives. And in the world of real estate, which is where we kind of focus most of our energy and effort, there's some interesting things happening with the Federal Reserve Chair. Chris, I want to talk about this a bit, but Jerome Powell, Fed Chair, he's saying right now that he predicts the time when mortgages will be impossible to get for the average consumer. He talks about insurance rates and some other things. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, he's not too far off. And again, we can go back to that crystal ball talk. But what this article and what he's primarily discussing is not in as much the mortgage rates and the cost of the mortgage. It's the requirement of insurance that lenders have for you to get the loan. And the cost of the insurance is almost as much as the actual P&I on a mortgage right now in some areas. I mean, who's going to want to go in and insure in California right now? Florida with hurricanes and all that stuff. And what's happening is people going to the state-supported or state-run insurance funds of last resort, therefore driving costs and prices up even further. But I don't have any empirical statistical data with charts that I can put in front of you, but I do know this. There are financial cycles, but there are also memory cycles. What do I mean by that? Like we go 3 or 4 years without a devastating hurricane in Florida, and everybody's going to want to be back in because it's a lucrative market. We go 5 or 6 years without a wiped out fire event in California and some other places. The insurance companies are going to come back. Me personally, I know this sounds insane, would think that once all the forest is burnt down, that'd be a great time to go in there and insure people, because what are the chances of another fire event as significant as the one we just had happening again? Nothing in the near future, right? Because all of the forests are down. So I believe this is true. You know, there's this thing called being priced out of paradise, and you know, specifically with Florida, with the insurance rates and all the coastal stuff in Texas and Louisiana. You know, heck, we tried to buy a property in Louisiana, and then we couldn't acquire the property based solely on the fact that the insurance costs made it economically unfeasible, which is insane. Yeah, there's a lot of truth to this, but there's always that side of me saying, you know, people are going to forget about these devastating events, and they're going to be back in 3 or 4 years, and it may affect the change in the market.
Yeah, you're spot on, Chris. I want to point out a couple of things too. Number one, the interest rate is actually down a little bit, even though the Fed hasn't cut rates recently. The market has driven this, so we're down to 6.87%. But the real culprit is the other expenses that Chris has mentioned. The insurance is up, and taxes are up in a lot of counties as well. So it's clobbering people. Now, on the flip side, Chris, why does this high cost of money and the high cost of insurance benefit us in the multifamily sector, specifically with sellers trying to sell to us right now? Why do those benefit us?
Because us specifically?
Yeah.
Because we're savvy at what we do. We've been through cycles like this previously, right? So this continues to allow us to be creative, seek out the deals, and get real honest with the sellers. But understand this, right? These are cycles. They don't last forever. So if we can get a deal to work, which is, you know, takes a lot of due diligence, processing, you know, hundreds of deals a month to find the deal that can work, to find the motivated seller, driving the price down of the houses because of the assets as a result of the cost of capital going up is driving the cap rates, right? So now we can get a better price because the dollar isn't as strong against the deal anymore. We get a better price, but in 2 years, when the rates come down, we'll refinance and then we benefit from that change. So if we can get the property to cash flow with high interest rates today, now, when the interest rates come down, there'll be more of a piece of the pie that goes towards profits, or NOI, as they say. And when the NOI goes up, guess what? Value of the property goes up. So now we've got a higher price, a more valuable asset that we can refinance again and keep getting our money out of. So believe it or not, this is very good for savvy investors or savvy operators, because the other thing it does is it separates the wheat from the chaff. What do I mean by that? There are some bozos who got into the real estate a couple of years ago when interest rates were 2.75, where heck, if half the people weren't paying the rent, you could still turn a profit. And if your expenses were through the roof, you could still turn a profit. But now with the cost of money through the roof, those people, they're not able to operate. The banks are having to take these properties back and turn it over to people like us who can actually operate in this market, turn the properties around, and make a profit. And man, I'm sorry for the long-winded answer.
Very, very important, very important, because you're seeing right now, there's a big fund that just launched in Texas, backed by Greystar, one of the biggest. And they're saying, hey, we're buying right now specifically because these variable costs like insurance are high. So it's forcing the seller to have to lower their price. You don't get very many windows in history that are like this, where both interest rates and insurance rates, it's like two hammers hitting the seller's head saying, you got to lower your price. So we're buying at a discount right now. And when insurance does come down, then we're going to benefit from that discount that we bought it at. Even if it doesn't come down, rents are still going to continue to go north over a long period of time.
Yeah, and I want to plug this one more time. So this is us specifically, not everybody. We will not buy a negative equity deal. That means that every deal that we get into right now is positive cash flow. We will not roll the dice with our investors' money. We will not roll the dice with our money. It's just too risky. And you know, it's funny, you were talking about your financial advisor saying, go all in on the stock market. And all I could think about is, man, let's just go to a casino, put it all on black and let the roulette wheel spin and see what happens. Same thing's happening with these people. They're buying these deals, praying that something positive happens. Where we buy, we're good even if things stay the same. These people can't last in a negative equity situation unless they've got unlimited checkbooks.
Chris, I'm glad you pointed this out. Now, make it simple, 10-year-old term. What does negative equity mean? I know that you know 6 cap and 5 cap, but to a 10-year-old, spell it out for me.
So let's say that we find an interesting deal in Florida, and I'm going to use round numbers. It's a $100 million deal, but the cost of the capital being so high, the interest rates we got to pay on the capital, makes it so that even after we collect all the rent, all the usual expenses, we still have to put more cash out than we collect, right? And that's called a negative equity deal. Right from the very beginning, I'm going backwards. And people are taking a chance on those with hopes that the rates will come down and then they can break even as the property will naturally appreciate, rents going up and stuff like that. That's what it means. It means that basically we're spending more money to own the property than we're taking in the door.
Yeah, bingo. So Chris just stated it. We don't do it. There's a lot of people doing it. We've passed on literally hundreds of deals in the last year that other people have bought that have negative equity, but we're just not into that. We're going to go for the sure thing.
No, Chris, your money's safe with us. Our money's safe with us.
Chris, I'm going to switch gears on you now. We've got this, we've got a bill coming through the House right now. It's sponsored by Democrat Amy Klobuchar, and she's saying, hey, these algorithms that are setting rent prices, these are illegal. The Airbnbs of the world. She didn't specifically cite Airbnb for the record, but that's what this kind of is going after. But the Airbnbs, the VRBOs, the software that hotels use, the software that landlords use to set their rent prices, this is collusion. It's price fixing. And this should be illegal, and they're going after the software makers and the software users. This is a really big deal. What do you think?
Can I be honest? Well, I don't know how to be anything but honest, so I'm just gonna put it out there. This is somebody trying to get headlines. Let's get real for a second. So this software is not in as much as they're presenting it as its price setting. No, it's informational software that allows us to dictate or to see what the market will bear. Heck, everybody has been doing this forever and ever. How much can we rent for? How much is the rents in the area increasing? We've been doing it the old fashioned way for forever. Now, I'm here to tell you, we utilize some of this software when we're analyzing a deal. There's platforms out there that tell us what market rents are. So we need to know what the market rents are for an area in order for us to see what the potential earning of an asset is before we buy it. So are we 10% below our market? Are we 20% below market? What can we do to get the rents to market, get it to the market? So with all that being said, it's a guide. For us, it's not a hard, fast tool. For instance, we've got a property where we just keep increasing rents because the demand in that area is high, and we'll do $25, an extra $50, and we're down to 3 units in the whole property. Let's increase the rents by $50 more a month, and we're renting and getting people happy to rent in our properties because we maintain our properties and take care of our people, but happy to pay a few dollars above rent to have the place where we are. So back to my original statement, I really believe this is somebody trying to play it out like David versus Goliath. There's no David here and there's no Goliath. This is just somebody trying to get headlines.
Yeah.
Again, long-winded answer. Sorry.
So that property that you mentioned, Chris, it's this one. This is Pine Tree Path. This is a beautiful little asset, 72 units up in Kentucky in Georgetown. It's close to the largest Toyota manufacturing facility in the world. And Toyota is expanding like crazy, plus of other companies are expanding like crazy. So Chris is accurate. We've taken rents literally from $650 per unit. This is one of the units, and we're already over $1,000 per unit. And that's just in the last handful of months since October last year. Yeah. And that's without software, but going into this deal, we need to analyze. And I'm going to flip it one other way too. Like my wife and I have a small Airbnb property, a vacation rental that I stay at when I'm up in Kentucky. And without that without knowing market rents, I don't know what I should charge per night. I really don't. Like I'm shooting in the dark. And so I'm finally to a point with that little cabin that we're breaking even each month. And without that software guiding us, I'd probably be sitting vacant most of the time, but it automatically adjusts the prices up and down to help us hit the metrics on it. So I think you're right, Chris. This is going for headlines. I don't know how much it actually helps people. According to the Biden study on it, this is going to reduce rents by an average of $70 per month. That's what they think compared to on their economic study that they did. Let's see.
I'm not buying into it. Sorry.
Yeah, usually some of the government sponsored things end up, they get worked around by the private sector regardless, and they create more red tape that costs more money is usually what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some of the builder confidence right now. The market's naturally different, lending's different, everything's different right now than it was a year ago. Chris, multifamily developer confidence shows mixed results. They talk about the multifamily production index, MPI, being low right now. What does this mean, and what are your thoughts?
What it means is, okay, so they use a scale from 0 to 100. 50 means that they're generating enough units to meet demand. Well, they're still at 48. So, I don't know, the socialist in me, there is no socialist in me, wants to say, oh, that's terrible, this is horrible. The reality as a landlord or as a property owner is this is phenomenal, because if there are less apartments or doors needed than what the market demands, you know what that means? Demand versus supply, the cost and the price of our property is going to continue to rise. So yeah, all of this is true. We know that, you know, now developers are out there, they're trying to syndicate deals, going to private equity to raise money to do developments, because institutional lending is just not keen on that. So yeah, the more pessimistic they are, the more optimistic I am. I know that sounds terrible, but sometimes it has to be about us, right? We need the revenue into our property so that we can do the things that we want to do to affect the world in a positive place. We have a lot of grand plans to execute on some amazing ways to help people, help children, and we can't do that without money. And so as a result of this happening, it warms my heart because I know we're going to be able to positively affect people's lives.
Chris, in the same article, they talk about the multifamily occupancy index, and basically they say we're at an 81 right now out of 100, and it's increased a little bit over the last year by 4 points. What does this mean to the market, and how does it affect us?
So it's honest opinion of me just thinking outside the box, again, with no data to back it up. What's happening is people are getting, because there's not an increase in starts, not an increase in finishes, not enough inventory coming into the market. People are taking places that they don't want to live, right? Maybe they can afford to be at a B class property, but they're settling for a C because either it's not available or they just can't make it work. So even though it's increasing slightly, in other words, there's more occupancy, I believe it's as a result of there not being enough positive inventory in place, and people are settling. So they're not waiting, they're just taking what they can. And I think you're going to see it continue to rise. Remember that I believe because there's less inventory than there is demand, that 16% that vacant is places that nobody wants to live. Otherwise it'd be, the numbers would be much higher. So I think that it's still a good indicator. I'm not scared. I hope it continues to rise, because that means that we go from 90 to 95% across the board as far as our vacancies are concerned, or our lease rates. So I'm not concerned. When it starts getting to 95, 92, maybe I'll start saying, but then again, remember, when it's that high, there's less selection on the market, more demand, higher rents.
Okay, Chris, I'm going to change gears on you again, okay? We're going to talk a bit about investment capital. You've had some pretty big meetings in the last week or two. Yep. You've got lenders now coming to you. They want you to borrow from them because they know you're a good steward, and they know your net worth meets all their requirements.
Yep.
Is capital getting looser? Is it getting harder? Like, tell us what we're facing if we're the average investor trying to get in this game.
So this is I'm gonna sound like I'm gonna contradict myself, but please hear me out. There's a lot more capital available because capital is being deployed more cautiously, right? So I have larger amounts, deeper pockets, but more selective lending, if that makes sense. So my previous statement that we were talking about the, every guy, 21-year-old kid that's watched 3 or 4 TikTok videos that's now a landlord because, the cost of capital was 2.3%, has created a flood of foreclosures. So the market has pulled back. Institutional lending has pulled back. But like you stated, because if you've got a reputation and you're an operator, there are actually more opportunities for us. I know that sounds insane based on what I just said, but there are more opportunities with us because capital doesn't make money unless it's being lent. So if the private equity, everybody that lends money keeps it, they're not making money on it. And so they're trying to find places to deploy. And I'm actually being encouraged to, with one of the biggest agency lenders in the country, for me to go out and find that bigger deal. They want me to go and find that $30 million deal, that $40 million deal, so that they can partner with me to get their capital deployed so they can start making money with it. Because they know when I say I'm going to do something, when we say we're going to do something, when we say we're going to fulfill our obligations, we're gonna die doing it. And that's just the way it is. So if you're an equitable and moral and upright operator, there's more opportunity today, and you're not competing for that capital as much anymore. So it makes them more flexible in their lending standards. It makes the rates a little bit better for us. All kinds of opportunities are rising, even though it sounds like things are getting scarce. They're not, if you're in the know.
So folks that are credit worthy to the bank, meaning experience in multifamily, they're pushing you to take more money.
Yeah, they got to get it pushed somewhere.
And so the experienced operators with a good track record are getting more money. And that's pretty much the sentiment going into 2025 and 2026. If you start looking around at the forecasts and some of the folks that do data on this, they're all saying the same thing, that more money will go out for multifamily real estate, but it's going to end up in the hands of the folks that can prove that they can handle it. That's going back to that biblical principle we talked about in Luke.
Trust a little, trust a lot.
Who here, since Chris now has 40 million available, who here would like Chris to fund your deal? Put a 1 in the chat. If you think you got a multifamily property or you think you can find one in the next couple of months, who would like to have Chris take a peek at it? And I'm going to look for the ones. I see Paige just put 1, but if you'd like to have Chris fund your deal or take a peek at it, then put a 1 in the chat. Chris, you're starting to get a lot of 1s. Your 40 million's getting Christina wants it, Lori wants it, Bruce wants it, Paige wants it, Bobby wants it, Amanda wants it. And same with everyone following us on social media. You can put a 1 in the comments as well. It's going to be a 2-step approach, okay? We're going to start looking at deals. We're looking at more deals. And if you're able to bring a deal that matches our criteria, then you might have a chance to have Chris fund it, okay? It's got to be a good one. It's got to be in a landlord-friendly state. It's got to meet all the requirements that we have. I'll get you a buy box. That's what we call it in the industry, a specific box of guidelines that we're looking for in the properties that we buy. But if it's one of those, there is a chance that Chris will fund it, okay? I want you to send an email to me, Nate@homeinvest.com. Nate@homeinvest.com. If you forget that for some reason, just reply to any of our emails and ask for our buy box. Ask for the buy box. And then on this show right here, the Opportunity Zone show, we're going to start featuring your deals. Chris and I will go through and we'll dissect it with you. We'll start to give you feedback. And if it's one that passes the Chris test, you might just get the green light to have that one potentially funded. So that's how it works, Nate@homeinvest.com. And we'll go through those deals with you. And I have one more piece of news to go to, and I see that Benjamin has a question. Benjamin, if you still have a question, feel free to unmute yourself. We'll do our best to slide you in right now. I'll keep going, though, just in case you don't find the unmute button. Okay, I'll keep going. I'll come back to you, Benjamin, if you're still active. Okay, next, I need to talk about these applications that have had fraud. Chris, tell us a little bit about what this article is all about. Snap Report says that 6.4% of rental applications were fraud in 2024. What does this mean and how it's affecting us?
So there's fraud for a lot of reasons. I'm not going to get into details. A lot of times, people who aren't legally in this country will use other people's identification, get an apartment, yada yada yada, or maybe criminal history that we don't want them in our apartment complexes or on our properties. For whatever reason, they're doing this. So what I'd like to point out is that this is, without argument, one of the best uses of technology, right? So technology is getting better and better at rooting out these applications and seeing whether or not somebody is, if there's indications of fraud. Because even though there's 6.4% this year in 2024, in 2023, it was 7.9%. So we've dropped 1.5 points. So there's great utilization of technology helping us as landlords and as property owners to weed out the bad seeds, because somebody's doing this for a reason that probably for a reason that we don't want them on our properties. So I'm encouraged that this stuff is actually happening. And again, it's as a result of great technology and a lot of due diligence on, we're not just stuffing people in our properties to get them rented. We want our communities to be communities. We've got people who have children. We want them to be safe, all of that stuff. We take this very seriously.
Those same principles that Chris, that you just laid out, it took our community at CKW, when we took over that property December a year ago, that property, the 2 bedrooms and larger units were harder to rent. We had a lot of vacancies there. And now fast forward a little bit more than a year later, we have a wait list for all of our larger units. Like literally, like as soon as one goes vacant, and there's families that have moved in. So it just shows those principles in action. We've now created a community that people want to be at with their children. And that's the best, because they don't typically move out for a longer period of time. They're more transient when you get the studios and 1 bedrooms. Oh,
Exactly.
Chris, we got a little thing going on here in the office. Actually, it's a big thing. Could you tell us a little bit about what's going on tomorrow in the Home Invest headquarters?
Da-da-da. So we have what's called an investor open house tomorrow. We've got a new office here in Florida. We've got a beautiful office where we're going to be doing some training in the future. But it's going to allow anybody that's in the area to come on in, shake our hands, grab a sandwich, grab a drink, get to know us a little bit. One of the things that I built all of my businesses on is relationships. And, this Zoom thing is great, but the reality is to be able to look somebody in the eye, shake their hand, and get to know who they are in person is a whole different experience. So if you're in the West Palm Beach area, or if you can make the drive tomorrow from 4 to 6, we'll be hanging out. We'll be introducing ourselves, getting to know each other a little bit better. Some hors d'oeuvres, some cocktails, some soft drinks. Come on in, come on and see our new office. We just got the sign put up. We're new, so bear with us a little bit, but would love to get to see and meet each and every one of you and shake your hands if you'd like to come on down.
Cool. So that's open house tomorrow. This is our official first office in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. We've some of you guys met us in our downtown Chicago office years ago, but everybody is now in Florida. This is where the action is. So if you guys if you're in the area, or if you are coming through town, please come on over. I'll put the link quickly in the chat. And this is to register. Oh, CJ beat me to it. Thanks, CJ. You can register just so we know that we are coming. We did the last time that I heard the official count, we were somewhere in the high 20s. I don't know where we're at now, but we don't have unlimited space. So we do ask you just do a quick RSVP, just so we know that you're coming, and we don't try to make the fire marshal upset. Okay, Chris, anything else you want to hit today?
No, man. Oh, just one other thing. So I'm not walking around trying to imitate Bono, right? It's funny. Last night I was out and they were like, "Oh, you look just like Bono from U2." Had some eye surgery. Need to wear some protective lenses. This is not my normal look. That's my normal look.
Way better, Chris.
So come on down, get to know us.
Well, we're looking forward to having you guys tomorrow at our headquarters if you're able to come. If not, then we do this show weekly, The Opportunity Zone. And then if you're interested in looking at our investment opportunity, we literally have maybe 2 spots, 2.5, 2.5 on our industrial fund. The industrial fund is going to be closing out this last asset that we just picked up called Brinkman. And that's almost full right now. Last I checked, there were about 2, maybe 2.5 spots left.
Cool. Thank you guys for coming, and we will see you next week. Remember to be a good steward of what God has given you.
God bless you. Thank you for being here.